air, I will begin. And it says that we're on the air. Welcome to Section 31, episode number 353. I'm Dan Hammond.
And I am Rogue Schindler.
This week, we both get to see a new movie that came out. It starts with Star, but does not end with Trek, but we'll talk about that a little bit. We're caught up on the Orville. There was no episode this week, so we can talk about the episode that came out last week, because that was fun. It looks like there was an announcement on the boards, at least, for... in the 1E gameplay forum, I see that there's a design Q&A for Cold Front, which is the set I worked on, so that's fun. Not many posts there yet, but that's cool. And yeah, so how about we start with what we did between the hours of 8 o'clock and 8 o'clock Thursday to Friday. Because we didn't see the movie together, obviously.
No.
You had the group, but I had kids, so I went the next morning.
Right. But we both saw it within like the first 24 hours. So, and I'm hoping pretty much everybody who cares about Star Wars has already seen it here. We kind of put the warning out on that last time. No really moratorium on spoilers. That said, there's so much. I like. It felt like I saw somebody post on Club Jade. Somebody started a reaction group to do discussion, and like it's been almost dead because everybody is like, the overwhelming response is, I still have to process that. There was so much that happened.
It was a long movie. It was, man. If the trend now is 2.5-hour commitments for this kind of thing, I don't know if that's what I want. I think I complained about this about the last long movie that I saw. Can't we go back
What
to
was the last long movie you saw?
Can't we go back to an hour, 15 minutes, hour, 30 minutes, maybe 2 hours? 2.5 hours is a long time.
Well, the last short movie I saw, or not short movie, but last genre movie I saw was Justice League, and it came in right at, could have been longer. In fact, it was the only movie in that series I felt like could have been longer. Wonder Woman was just right, and all the other ones have been way too long.
Wonder Woman was 2 hours and 20 minutes. But it seemed like it went a lot faster than Star Wars did.
Yeah. It's all about the pacing and how it feels like it goes. Did you have a particular spot that you felt? I know we always joked for The Force Awakens that it's like, all right, it's the Rathtar fight. Time to go to the bathroom. I'll go back in a couple minutes.
No, I'm sure I'll develop one of those upon a second viewing or listening to it over and over again. I'm looking at some other movies. Doctor Strange was only 1 hour and 55 minutes. Tight. Guardians 2 was 2 hours 18. So I guess 2 hours is got to be what I got to be shooting for. Anyway, as far as front to end, there were a couple points where I thought I didn't need to see Luke milking something or spearfishing. I don't care. I don't need to know how he's sustaining himself on the planet. I guess that was interesting information.
Yeah. But then we lose the joke. I've seen your day. You're not busy.
Yeah, but that makes sense even if he's not doing anything. The very first scene, where he just chucks the saber over his shoulder, that pretty much set the tone, I felt, for that's okay, that's what this is going to be. It's going to be a lot of just humorous takes. I had a good time throughout the entire length of the movie. There were a couple bits where I thought that's kind of strange, but for the most part, I've been reading some reviews online and people's opinions, and all the people who hated it I don't agree with, and all the people who really liked it I do agree with. So I think that means I liked it. I think that means I liked it more than I didn't like it.
I have to say I'm very comforted at your confusion about your own opinion because I have the same reaction. There are a lot of things. I don't know that I hated anything. There are a lot of things I took exception with, or like, oh, that could have been different, or I wish that had gone a different way, or I'm not entirely sure if I like that yet. when people are like, "Hey, did you like it?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I don't know. I liked a lot of it. I feel like I enjoyed the movie experience. There's certainly plenty that thought, I'm not sure why they did that or this could have been cut. But on the whole, I enjoyed my movie going experience. So, um, certainly on the positive side, I don't agree with all the people who are like, it's the best movie ever. It's got flaws.
There were a lot of things that I was, I don't want to say I
But
went in with a low expectations, but there was a lot of things I was concerned about. I was concerned about that this would be a retread of Empire the same way. The first movie was, similar in flavor and sound to A New Hope. That I didn't feel like that happened. There were a few parts that were, oh,
yeah.
walkers again, but that was different enough. That was fine. Uh, so that didn't happen. That didn't fall out. The other thing was one of the problems that I one of the things I didn't like about the prequels was a lot of answers to questions, and this was not a lot of answers to questions. There were many more questions left unanswered than there were answers to questions. I felt like there were a few answers. I mean, why Kylo and Luke are not friends anymore.
Yeah.
I like the retelling of the two different versions of what happened that fateful night. That kind of thing. That was fun.
Yeah. That was
Um,
neat.
but there were, I mean, the big main questions going in. Who is this Snoke guy? What's his background? Who cares? He's not around
No,
anymore.
doesn't matter.
Which were Luke's parents Palpatine or Kenobi or what?
Ray's parents.
Yeah. Sorry, Rey's parents. Doesn't matter. They're probably space junkers who, uh, that's good. I don't need to know anything
Okay,
else. That's fine.
but I don't know that that's a definitive answer because everything else. So if you consider the source of that fact, it's the same source of all these other things that are probably not coming to pass because they are things that Snoke put into their visions. So if that's if he put in that Rey is going to turn to the dark side and he is going to turn to the light side just to bait her to come there, how is anything that they saw in those visions trustworthy? I mean, I believe that he believes it,
Yeah. Okay.
and whether he wanted to believe or not, he saw it as an opportunity to try to turn Rey. I believe he wanted to turn Rey to join him, but I don't think he really cares whether it's true or not. As much as, you know, I almost feel like Snoke sees that as her fear of what her parents are, and so he just it's like, yeah, that's it, because that'll feed her fear and bring her closer to the dark side. Um,
Okay. So
that's my hope.
but again, uh, as my point, we didn't get a lot of answers. Perhaps that is not even one that I had on
Yeah,
the tally of answer side. That could still be an unanswered question. So,
yeah,
yeah, but no, I take your point. That could be just what was placed in his head, and who knows if it was right or not. Uh, I,
yeah,
I think the fact that when she went to the cave, the Dagobah cave on, ancient planet there, and she got no answer there either. That could just be, well, maybe we're not going to get one.
yeah. I really didn't like that. I thought I was gonna. It was kind of interesting the first time, and the second time I was like, this is because it was just there was no point. Like it's like, oh, this is the cave. This is her cave.
Hmm. But there was
But
no thing that she had to defeat mentally or
you know,
physically. Yeah.
aside from that, maybe like that her biggest mental enemy is herself. But they didn't even explore that. It was just
Hmm.
like, oh, nope, no answers here. And she doesn't even discuss it with Luke to try and figure out anything about it. Whether there was a deeper meaning there or not, it felt wasted because they didn't explore it any further.
Sure. Yeah.
That was a point where I was like, this is a big waste of time. Why are we here?
We didn't get a complete backstory for Random Admiral Lady. We got the same thing we heard about Lando. He had this great battle at some point in the past, but she's got a huge backstory. When I
Yeah.
first saw her, I thought they were going to call her Admiral Wren or something like that, and that would have been Sabine, because you had hair. That was
Ha
very
ha
color.
ha ha ha. Oh wow.
That would have.
Oh, I hate you so much for putting that in my head.
I mean, how much would that have
Yeah,
turned the character around and thought, oh, now we have the audience. Some of the
yeah,
audience has a
that's
connection.
headcanon. Yeah, that's headcanon.
Ain't done. All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
She changed her name when
headcanon.
she got older. Yeah. Took off the armor. Became an admiral.
Uh,
Uh, yeah. Or the we've got a couple of new planets with no backstory that we've never heard of before. So that's great. That's all fodder for Tales of the Casino, or whatever else they want to do in the future. Um,
yeah.
but no, there were a lot of it was a long movie, so
So
there are a lot of things to go back and think about.
just so I understand you correctly, you were excited, you were happy that there were more questions than answers?
Oh yeah, yeah, because the
Cool.
whole first trilogy, the classic trilogy, was all kinds of this big open universe and lots of holes to be plugged in
Yeah.
and stories to be told. Whereas the prequel trilogy, we're going to tell you everything about everything, and there's no surprises.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked the idea of there being broken links filled, but not to that degree,
I
and
mean, there's
to
a story arc. Yeah,
excruciating detail.
we've got to get from A to B in another 2 years to C. So there's got to be some story there, but there are so many threads that are woven in that came from who knows where that are
Yeah,
left open to be pulled on by other people, authors, etc.
yeah. One of my uh, big gripes is really not the fault of the Last Jedi. They had to take what they were given, but it was more of the Force Awakens, which is that I don't know. Maybe the prequels they were just like, oh, people hated the over politicking so much that they just pulled way back away from it. But I felt like we had no real understanding of the current political situation coming, such that we could understand, other than the crawl that says the First Order was born out of the remnants of the Empire. Okay, well, how did the remnants come? Was that just right after Jedi? There's the Republic, but there's the Resistance. If the Resistance is on the same side of the Republic, who are they resisting? And like, we don't get how are there three factions? We don't get any of this. There's a lot more backed up in the now canon literature post legending of everything else.
Right.
But just watching the movies, which you should be able to just watch the movies and understand what's going on, it's really difficult to understand the situation and to have to come in and they couldn't. They have to pick up at the that cliffhanger, literal cliffhanger, almost. And so we got two movies over the course of 3 days.
Yeah, they are very tight together. Yeah,
of a trilogy. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming we're going to get more of a New Hope to Empire time jump now. That crushed down to nothing, but now they're going to be the spark that rises from the ashes, and they can't really do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll get some time to develop that. But I was like, okay, essentially, okay, the First Order is supposed to be this remnant that nobody believes exists, or at least is not a threat. But for some reason, they have this, not even a Death Star, like a galaxy gun, and this enormous fleet that suddenly they can apparently take over. You know what? If they dropped a bomb on DC right now, that would take up a bunch of our leadership, but there are contingency plans. They know the succession of command and who's going to take up. Somebody in NORAD or in some other base is going to set up the government, and they're going to start getting our shit together and preparing to retaliate. They fired the Starkiller base 5 minutes ago, okay, or maybe like an hour ago. And now they're like, oh my God, the First Order's taken over. They're going to control all the systems within a matter of days. Like, they just fired the thing, and they're supposed to be this, So it's very cryptic and, nebulous.
Sure. I mean,
the whole situation.
When Starkiller Base fired, it did take out the fleets, the precious fleet, as the Mad Guy said, and there were explosions all over the place, showing that all their ships blew up. So I guess the Republic doesn't have much of the way of anything I would
Well, but that
imagine,
was one system, though.
but yeah, but that's where their fleet was.
Yeah, well, all their entire fleet was in one place. Our entire fleet isn't in one place. It's
Well,
all over the world.
that happened several times. It happened in Return of the Jedi. I'm guessing the Imperial fleet was all in one place, and the rebels were massing yourself. I don't know. Maybe they were having a party for something. Uh, yes, I, I can only imagine that that Snoke had his own cruiser and his own battalion of folks to go with him, held in reserve. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and he seems like completely unconcerned when Structular bases. I mean, I guess destroying the seat of power, the current seat of power, was sufficient, but like the end of Force Awakens, he's like, you know, the weapon is overloading, and it's only a matter of time. Like, all right, well, go pick up Kylo Ren and come meet me. It's cool. We're just gonna train my fanboy here.
you're expecting to have him explode the same way the Emperor did in that Robot Chicken sketch, right?
Yeah,
You have an
exactly.
idea how much they can cost?
Another one. Well, we got limited supplies of suns here. All right, we can only recharge that thing. Now we have to build another one. What the hell is an aluminum falcon?
Yeah, I that was a fun play. The way that completely they said, okay, let's put the Falcon in play, and it drove off all the fighters because they've got to take out that thing.
Oh my
That was
god!
great.
Oh, they hate that ship so much. That
Yes.
was awesome. I love
And
that.
then the same thing with Luke. Luke shows up, and it's like, all right, everyone concentrate on that, and that they got played very well.
I did like there was a lot of callbacks within the movie and a lot of unknown foreshadowing. Like it's not all about lifting rocks. I was like, no, lifting rocks. And what do you think? I'm going to show up with a laser sword and fight the entire
Yeah, that was pretty good.
first order by myself? And then he does, except he doesn't. So that was I really like that. I mean, and that was like a theme. It felt like back at Comic-Con when they did the preview footage, there was an interview with Daisy Ridley and Mark Hamill, and they say something to the effect of, "You don't. It's it's everything that happens is unexpected, but then it happens, and you're like, it totally makes sense. Yeah, that's what would happen in that situation, but it's not what you think would happen." And that kept being true. That unfortunately, on some points it almost happened to a fault. Like there are a handful of those times. Most of the time, like 80% of the time, I was like, "Oh my god, that was awesome! That was such a cool idea." They go this direction, they went that direction, and then there was 20% of them like, "Okay, you know what? Now you're just being contrary." Like you could have just taken that and gone that direction. It's fine. We would have been okay with that. But now you want to take everything that people think is going to happen and go the other way just for the sake of going the other way. And then it was like, all right, well, that was not really necessary.
What did you think? So I went into this. I don't want to say spoiler free because I watched the first trailer at Celebration with it, everyone else who was there. But I didn't watch any of the other trailers. I kind of avoided all the toys and packaging and everything. So I was probably about as spoiler free as you can be without actively wearing a blindfold. How did you go into the movie? Did you pursue things?
I did not. It was not like the prequels where I was tried to live in a bubble. It's almost impossible to do that anymore. I did watch the trailers. I didn't avoid the toys, but I didn't seek them out. I did spend the last month ignoring anything that said it was to do with Star Wars on social media because it was really getting to the point where now we're getting close enough. Some might, real genuine spoilers might show up, and I didn't really want to, find out that, somebody dies or somebody lives or somebody is somebody's parent.
Yeah, sure.
Out of context. I wanted to actually see that. So I got what they gave me, basically. I watched the commercials. I actually did more than I thought I would because I was looking for Poe reference shots, which were not in abundance. So I could.
Well, I didn't even think about that. Did his costume change much? I mean, he got a new jacket.
New jacket. So his pilot outfit is the same. His helmet is the same. Thank God. Um, and he got a new jacket. Basically, he's got a slightly different shirt. His shirt is basically Han's shirt in a different color now.
Yeah.
And he got a new jacket. His pants and boots are exactly the same, which is great because I got those screen accurate boots. They're the same as his Jakku boots, which is like, well, I don't really need screen accurate boots for this costume, but they're on clearance discount, so sure, why not? Those. Thanks, honey.
Yeah, nice. I was gonna say,
yeah, cool costumes. I love that. That's the jacket right here. I've been wearing it every day because it's super comfy, and I need to weather it.
Yeah, lots of. There was one point where he was walking on the main rebel ship, their home one, and
yeah,
it looked like he was wearing a Han outfit. I mean, he had the way that the jacket was like it was vest like, it just had that look. He was walking through.
Yeah, he definitely searching for it. You could definitely, and that was kind of a cool background Unity thing. Like, it definitely looks like that's a style in the galaxy right now. Like that jacket, it's very similar to old Han's jacket, and so it's like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe that's a Corellian style right now or something. I like that.
Did anybody establish Poe as being Corellian yet?
They have not.
Assume he could be.
I mean, certainly, he wants it to be, and I want him to be, but I don't know. People keep complaining about the. I saw that there was a great comic floating around social media of 2 buttons options. Push for, TFA was too much like A New Hope, and then this one is push that Last Jedi is not enough like Empire Strikes Back.
No, I wouldn't say that. Interesting. I think the only thing that I was disappointed that I had heard beforehand is back at Celebration, we were at the Sphero booth, and we were talking to someone that they had the BB-8, that you could drive around.
Yeah.
And they said, and yeah, we're gonna have the evil one sometime too. Like, wait, what? So, oh, we're not supposed to talk about that, and they turned and walked away. So,
oops.
There's gonna be an evil BB-8. Okay, I've been sitting on that for a while. I guess BB-8E or whatever he is. The E is for evil.
Yeah.
So I knowing that going in, I think there was one rolling around on the rebel ship, and I thought, it's a spy BB.
Oh, that's right.
How they're tracking them, because you can't track things in hyperspace.
Oh, so they threw you with that.
Yeah, I was totally thrown off, and then it turns out there was another one on the stupid wild goose chase.
I believe the internet calls him BB Hate.
BB Hate, very good. Yes.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That was cool that there was one on there. Speaking of the tracking, I saw a tidbit today.
Yeah.
You may have seen that somebody found in Rogue One when Jyn is going through the list of special projects.
That hyperspace tracking is one of the special projects.
There's a hyperspace tracking.
That I can only imagine they did it on purpose. I guess we'll give them that much credit. Of course. But that was pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, Pablo gave that a nod.
Oh, good.
He was like,
good.
Yep.
Nice.
It's like, well spotted.
Yeah, that's a pretty deep pull for something that was a while back. But I'm sure we're just going to get flooded with a little. That's the other thing I haven't done yet, is to go through and see all the, this is the stormtrooper that was one of the royals. These are the people that were you didn't notice. These were the cameos from other people over here.
Sure.
That'll be fun. I think the only other Rogue One I heard was the director was next to the guy that said salt or something like that.
Yeah, I recognized him.
Okay.
The second time through, I was like, "Hey, it's." At first, I thought it was Rian Johnson, and then but all these white guys look the same. But it's Gareth Edwards from Rogue One, and definitely some more Stormtrooper cameos,
Sure. Yeah.
voices, and like there's someone else I remembered reading about and I forgot now. But um, yeah, I like that you call it a wild goose chase, because I was thinking about that earlier today. That one of my pet peeves in storytelling, and I used to see this in Stargate a lot, because they were not really, you didn't really watch Stargate for the story. It was more for the characters, because it kind of got recycled after a while. But I hate the, you always have plan A and plan A always fails. Fine, that's storytelling. You need to, because A, plan A never survives contact with the enemy, and B, it would be boring storytelling if out right away. But you usually get some kind of payoff for it, or they have to improvise and make it work and do something else or anything. But they literally, it was like you said, no benefit from them being over there. They go over there, they go find the guy back, they get on the ship, captured, they barely escape. No benefit from being there at all. And I get that it's to drive home how foolish a plan it was to begin with and how Poe shouldn't have done it. But that was like half the movie.
Yeah. I mean, it gave us the scene at the very end, the very, very end of the movie with the kid who uses the Force to pick up the broom. That was really
Yeah,
unexpected, and I really like that. That was fun.
I like that a lot too.
The this is who's the next generation of freedom fighters is going to be. That was kind of cool. But that entire planet from the casino, there was just a lot of the monsters that are. All I thought it was the Del Mar racetrack when I saw that. Uh, the things going around in circles, and then the chase through the thing, and that was, I didn't need any of that. They could have just called for help from someone, and he could have showed up. you know.
That was my call for the Rathtar scene. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, it's the racetrack scene. All right, I've seen this. I can go to the bathroom now and come back.
Yeah, exactly. I part of that could be my disappointment with how much I really wanted Lando to be somewhere there, and be their contact, or even be the guy that they hooked up with because the contact didn't work.
Yeah.
But not that guy. I yeah, nah, that was disappointing. Uh, but I'm sure in the grand tradition of Star Wars and characters, what do you call turning from evil to good, right? He'll be back in the next movie and make amends, and everyone will be happy, right?
Well, then he'd be doing what you expect, and he'd be the Lando. I'd like him to come back, and they're like, it'd be completely apathetic again, and they either have to get revenge on him, or they have to like work with him, even though they don't want to.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, that whole the whole plan to go out and come back and then have not only it fail, but it fail so spectacularly that they were able to shoot down all the other rebel transport ships escaping. Oh, that's rough. That's
Yeah.
there's got to be some fallout from that, and I don't think we saw any really, right? Other
Yeah,
than
and we didn't. And the problem with that being there to drive home the lesson to Poe is that there, he suffers no consequences from it other than the guilt of his own conscience. And then he's got to be the leader, because Leia's not going to be there forever for obvious reasons, and Holdo's gone now. Which I like, the second Holdo showed up, I was like, oh, she's going to be the new Leia.
yeah, yeah,
That clearly felt like they were setting up, and that was a nice reversal on that, because obviously that's what you were meant to think. Man, that was a badass exit, though. Um, and then, by the time we get to Crate, you're like, all right, well, everybody's dead. And, obviously she's been grooming him to be a leader, which is kind of forced on us early on, but then at the end it's like, okay, well, literally all the leadership except Leia is dead, and everybody looks back at her and it's like, what are you looking at me for? Follow him. Like, all right, okay, well, I guess Poe is going to be the new leader, but
Unless someone shows up from that call that's gone unanswered so far.
yeah. Now, to your Lando point, Caitlin made an excellent observation that having him be a cameo in the casino, sure, that would have been fine. But having him being one of the people who answers the call,
yeah, that would be
is a lot more meaningful, and a lot more like, him helping out and contributing, even if he's just there to be like, hey, I'm here to help you get in touch with my people, and they're gonna take it from me, and then he can go off and.
Yeah, I think it was Chris posted on the boards that what they were setting up looked to be, the first movie, Rey hangs out with Han, learns some things, he dies. Second movie, Han hangs out, or Rey hangs out with Luke, learns some things, he dies. Third movie, Rey hangs out with Leia, learns some things, she dies. Maybe Lando can fill that role.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it was clearly the way it was. As soon as we got the end of Force Awakens, it was like, okay, well, this is Han's movie, and the way the cliffhanger is, the next one is Luke's movie, and then the last one's Leia's movie, because that's when the war will come to a head, and she's the general and everything. And I know, I mean, I don't have a good answer for it, but Caitlin makes a great point about it's hard to not want that story to still be told. It's you hate to have to compromise Leia's story because Carrie's not here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, do you hope that there was enough pre-shooting done that you can do that, or do you recast it? What do you do?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm sure, and then there's the uproar of the CGI.
Yeah, they could always target it up, right?
Yeah, they could target it up, but yeah, I mean, there's any number of combination of ways. I mean, you could write her off screen if you had to, but I still don't feel like that would be a good idea either. It's not a good answer, but it's tough. I don't know.
I think if they weren't going to write her off, I'm expecting the opening crawl to be, General Leia has died or something like that, and then just like Luke Skywalker is missing from the first one.
Sure.
I think if they weren't going to do that, they've had several opportunities, over the course of the movie to have her character pass away. That didn't happen. So
I thought that was good. Yeah. I mean, they literally blew her out the airlock.
They blew her out the airlock, which was, cool Force move to pull her back in. Too bad Akbar doesn't have the Force, because yikes. She could have been the one on the ship turning around and, jumping into hyperspace in their face.
Yeah.
That would have been a go.
Which seemed like the obvious move.
Yeah. Or I guess she could have been the one out there, buying time for everyone else to escape through the back door as well. But, Luke forced himself out there to do that. Yeah. So anyway, beyond those, there are opportunities to work with what happened and make it disappear. But I can only imagine they have a plan. So I'm looking forward to see what they do.
Yeah.
But speaking of Luke and showing up, so there were a lot of clues that I missed completely until right at the very end that he wasn't really there. There's no way in from the back of the caves, and he just walks through. I was like, well, clearly there is. I didn't notice that he wasn't making footprints. Did you?
I did. Well, I was suspicious very early on from one, from one cue, and that made me think about everything else, and so I picked up on it pretty quickly. But when he comes and meets Leia, he's got his hair cut, and he's like, he dyed his beard, and he's in this new outfit. And I
didn't notice that his beard wasn't gray, but I did notice that he cleaned up a lot. I just figured that he found some new robes and got a haircut, And
I thought that was fine, and that was fine too. But as soon as I'm trying to think of when they blast him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what force pack. I'm still RPGing. I'm like, that's a lot of absorb dissipate energy.
That's a lot of absorbed spin energy or deflecting. I
Nope.
didn't see any blaster
Deflecting,
bolts go anywhere else, so
no
can't put
lightsaber.
deflectors. Yeah,
Yeah, and he walks out of the cloud, and he does
yeah,
the flick, but he's not. There's not a speck of dust on him, even though he does that.
yeah.
And you're like, and that was like, he's not there. And then I was like, that I'm like, you know, mentally writing it down. That's my wager, you know. And then so as that whole duel progresses, I'm like, he's going to dodge all the lightsaber swings, so he's not going to, you know, he's never going to block it. I'm like, yep, still not there, still not there, still not there. And so I got an early clue, but I loved how they did that. They made it very subtle, one piece at a time, like
I think that's
making the footprints and dodging the lightsaber, and it was really well done.
that's a perfect way to do it, so that when you watch it a second time, you can start picking those up. But like I said, I didn't notice, and I think I found out at the same time Kylo did. It's like, oh, you're not actually gonna be here.
Yeah.
It's something that I think Charlie mentioned. They showed the X-wing right in the water, but never actually used it. But I think that was just to lead us to think that, okay, well, he can get away when he wants, and he could conceivably be there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a late ad.
Mm-hmm.
How did he get there? In the head of the audience, that like, oh, okay, he's got an X-wing there, so he can get off planet and go save the day.
Yeah,
I was half expecting it to show up when the Falcon did.
Yeah, do that classic.
There's a Falcon,
you know.
and then
Yep.
Another audible cheer moment.
Exactly. All right. Anything else? Anything else we should discuss? I think I've hit all the.
Even though her part of the story was not really useful, I loved Rose. I thought she was a great addition. Another aspect, another side of the Resistance that we never really get to see, beyond the leadership. I loved her interaction with Finn and get that whole perspective. I liked pretty much all the new characters. Were great additions to what we saw.
Yeah, I'll second that. Rose was a great character, written very well. Hated the plot that she was involved in because it went nowhere and was a big waste of time. But
unfortunate.
I'm have an interesting part to play in the next one, since she seems to have been promoted, by process of elimination.
You are now the chief engineer.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was one of Mark Hamill's responses, "Are you the most powerful Jedi?" And he said, "Yes, by process of elimination." I like that. Someone had said that, Luke made a mistake and ran off and hid on a planet, and who would do that? And the answer is Yoda, Obi-Wan, Luke. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem with that at all.
So the two things that I liked and I wanted more of, kind of related. The whole Luke thing, I really like. A friend of mine really didn't like The Force Awakens, or more like it's not she didn't like it. It made her really sad, and she didn't really want to watch it a lot. And I was like, "Why is that?" And she's like, "Well, it took all of my favorite characters, all these heroes that we saw from the original trilogy, and they basically turn out to be failures, and they've all had really horrible lives."
Yeah. And the entire celebration at the end of Return of the Jedi is moot because they're all going to spiral into depression. The Empire is not really destroyed, and that's not the last time planets are going to be blown up by a big giant machine.
Yeah,
and of course, in a couple of days, all that Death Star is going to rain down and kill off all the Ewoks.
Well, silver lining.
Yeah.
But everybody was like, "Oh, I hate that they did this with Luke and they turned him into this, Lucia." And I was like, "No, he says it right there. He fought one guy. He only beat Darth Vader because he happened to be his father, and he was going easy on him. He trained with Yoda for like a week.
He's
the most powerful Jedi because he's the only one left. He took the correspondence course with Force Spirit Academy, and got to meet with Yoda. You know, he lucked into his lightsaber, and then you know, completed his training against Jabba the Hutt. But you know, he doesn't go off into the sunset and become this super Jedi Master because he knows everything, because he didn't know anything. So I totally buy that. You know, this kid who's had to wing it this whole time takes and then kind of collapses in on himself. Now, I actually loved the bit in the trailer when they're like, it's time for the Jedi to end. Because that's the message we've been getting since episode 3. When Mace and Yoda are on the side and they're like, dude, and I don't know, like, how are we going to stop it? And, you know, there's one Sith Lord on Coruscant and we have thousands of Jedi, and how come we can't stop this? It's because we're crumbling. Our system is crumbling. What we're doing isn't working. And I was 100% on board. It was like freaking out. Oh my God, the Jedi! What are they going to? How is the Jedi going to end? He's going to kill Rey, or he wants to die. And it's like, no, I totally want him to be like, what? This system is not working. If you want to learn the Force, we're going to do it my way. Let's find a new way. Or for him to be all crotchety, and then when he's like, no more Jedi, I'm not going to train you. And then he stops and says, okay, I'll give you 3 lessons on the ways of the Force. And that will tell you why the Jedi shouldn't continue, why they shouldn't exist anymore. And for her to come back and say, okay, you make great points. Bad things have happened, but good things have happened too. Let's find another way together. You're, student master. Student learns from the master. Master learns from the student. And they didn't do any of that. They just kind of floundered. Like they kind of got halfway or 2/3 of the way there, and then they freak out about the bridge between Kylo and Rey, and now there's like nothing. And even if they had like start to establish that path, and then they had to go the rest of the way that they happened, to set her on the course. So I was kind of disappointed when, I thought it was funny that after Yoda's pranking Luke with the fire, and then it turns out Rey's had the books the whole time.
Yeah, she just lifted them. Well, and that's something she's going to need, because she's going to have to make herself a new lightsaber, right?
Sure. Or at least, fuse this one back together. I don't know. We should probably take the crystal out.
It looked pretty rough.
I mean, she's a pretty competent engineer or mechanic. She at least reverse engineer it, I think.
Yeah.
She might salvage the crystal and reverse engineer it. Between that and the books, she might be able to make a new lightsaber. But I don't know. That part was a little bit disappointing to me, based on, that was one of the few things that I did feel like I had a handle on, them going off, at a right angle on, and then they didn't. So that was kind of like one of the minor disappointments for me.
Well, maybe that'll pay off a little bit in the next one, as she's talking to Luke's Force Ghost, trying to do the correspondence course, as you say.
Yes. Right? And that's, I 100% believe he'll be back as a Force Ghost teacher. So maybe that is still a direction they can go.
Yeah. All right. I don't think I have anything else. I probably will see it maybe when it comes out on streaming. I don't have any plans right now to go see it again. It was a long movie.
It was a long movie. I almost didn't go see it again. I'd already bought my ticket, and I was going to have to go back to return it anyway. So I was like, well, if I'm here, I might as well watch it. But it's a lot of movie, and it was emotion. I felt wrought at the end of it. There was a lot of, we kind of got 1.5 scenes with Han and Leia in the first one, but there was a lot of emotion in this movie for me.
Yeah, I mean, there was the Luke and Leia getting back together to have a conversation. Yeah. That was nice. There was the Luke and R2 scene when he played back the "Help Me, Obi-Wan Kenobi." That was pretty strong.
Hands down the most emotional scene for me. Yeah.
But I was not affected as much as I was at The Force Awakens. I don't know.
Really?
The scene in the snow where the lightsaber pulls out and lands in Rey's hand, that was more...
Oh, yeah.
That was stronger, I think, than anything in this movie.
Yeah,
the one thing that I got pulled away from the movie. One last thing, uh, when the Falcon's doing the fly through the mines, losing the TIE fighters,
Yeah.
the music came to the Death Star trench run music, right? Like note for
It's
note.
the escape with the TIE fighters, Ben's death and the TIE fighter
Okay,
attack.
yeah, uh, that was very jarring. I didn't that
You didn't like that callback?
I would have liked it if it was a callback, but it seemed to be a note for note replaying of most of the sequence.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, didn't like that. That was I, as someone who I think I think I've experienced all three movies via audio more than video, certainly, because I've got them on, MP3s and CDs and things. I'll just throw in and listen to the whole thing.
Sure.
I pick up on I feel like I picked up on a lot of musical cues that were great. A lot of callbacks here and there, but that was weird. It was like let's just give up and just copy and paste this whole section in here. I didn't mind
Yeah.
the flying through it. You know what it reminded me of is you remember the original Star Tours when you're flying through the
Oh
comet?
yeah.
That's exactly what it
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
like. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it was musically that was
I
odd.
that's actually one of my favorite pieces of music, so I was okay with it. But I did feel like I was like, oh, poor. I guess John's getting old. He just had to copy and paste. Um, but there was a moment like that. Actually, the moment you were just talking about, which was a little jarring for me because I love that moment in The Force Awakens when Rey catches the lightsaber. Is there's like 8 or 12 measures of that music is exactly bar for bar the barbecue, the Lars family barbecue
Yeah, but
from A New Hope.
that was as you
But
say,
then it cuts
called it
away,
8 bars. It cuts away, and that was
Yeah,
a perfect
yeah,
use of it. That whole sequence
yeah,
was just. I mean, if they would have taken that at the beginning and then rolled into something else, but it went on too long.
yeah. Or
What do I know?
even
What do
just
I know about music?
new arrangement of it. Play it again
Yeah.
instead of being pasted. Yeah, I feel you.
All right. Uh, The Last Jedi. I would go see it if you haven't. If you've already seen it once, have at it. See it again. Uh, I think uh, I think Debbie's going to take the girl over Christmas break when we're up
Yeah,
visiting the family. So we'll see how that goes.
I did notice several more things on the second viewing. I'm glad I went and saw it again. I'll probably see it at least once more in the theater, uh, maybe to check out 3D or one of those other fancy new versions that I don't always see other movies in.
Smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision, that'd be interesting. Uh, I will say, the first time around, when Luke fades away, I was more confused than anything. Maybe a little shocked. I was like, "What? Wait, what just happened? Is that? Are you sure? Wait, did he? No, no." And then, I mean, it's so clear that they have to have dialogue with Rey and Leia saying, "Oh, did you feel that? Yeah, he's gone. Oh, wow." And I was just like, "Oh, what? It was one more thing on top of a mountain of a first viewing that I was just like, I was kind of numb by then. Like, didn't really affect me. Second time, they have the sunset and the wind blowing and the shots back and forth about kind of him being at peace and recovering and having contributed. I would not call myself a Luke fan or a lightsider by any means, like a Jedi enthusiast, but I was a wreck. Like, knowing it was coming that time, I was unexpectedly just crushed when they got to that. So emotionally, even though it's quite jarring, it was worth a repeat viewing at least once, to kind of experience all the things that you didn't necessarily experience the first time, or have time or emotional bandwidth to experience
Yeah,
the first time.
yeah, agreed. All right, very good. Do we have? Let's skip over the Orville. We could talk about that since they skipped an episode, right?
Agreed. I figured this would take a while. It's a long movie, so
Yeah.
it's a long review.
As far as other things on the boards, the continuing committee, the Project Excelsior has got some information posted, so that's going to be interesting to check out. We've got a tournament locally coming up in the week New Year's weekend, kind of a playtest day. So that'll be interesting to
Yep.
see what the folks play. It looks like they've got a few folks, a good number of folks pre-registered already. So we'll hope to talk to someone who did that afterward, and I think we're going to be putting together cards the next day on Sunday. So maybe we'll get some facts from Matt himself and Charlie. We can talk about that on Monday. And then, actually, Monday is going to be New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. New Year's Day?
New Year's Day.
All right, we can probably have a show New Year's Day. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, that should be fun.
All right. Then we'll go over all the new Cold Front stuff. There's another spoiler. There's a new Archer that's posted. Charlie posted, new Jonathan Archer.
Ooh.
He's got a lot of skills. He's going to be very good, I think, in. He's a civilian. I think he's going to be pretty good in the War Council deck. But anyway, we'll talk about more Cold Front stuff. We'll catch up on Oroville and talk about the tournament. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
All right. Well, that's all the intelligence we have for this week. In the meantime, I am Sarog,
And I'm Sir Dan.
and I'll remind you all to expand your power in a galaxy far, far away.
And I will, I guess, activate one force stand.